Was that on film? Yes, it was. Thank you, Karen.
You did some of these. Yeah, I have.
How are you?
This is better.
I'm trying. Don't worry. I like being on the sidelines. Oh, thank you. Forgot what I had put on.
I was like, I had a point set on my hand. No, this is not gonna work. I don't want to
No.
cause it someone stream.
Participating.
Yep, 2025, the other one is. Now trail to.
You got time coming? You know.
Yeah. No, I can't think of anyone else right now.
Vacation? I got a couple of those. I'm good. It's, yeah. It's all set, right? You know. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, did my last one. I mean.
I'm all set when you are.
Outside? Okay. Okay, begin the meeting with our pledge allegiance, this item on the agenda.
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any changes, additions, or eliminations from the agenda? Okay, our meeting minutes from December 9th. Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor? Our abstract number 12, dated today, the amount of $170,089.01.
Make a motion to approve the abstract.
Motion. Second. Second. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor? DPW?
I don't really have much of anything other than the, if you don't know, the trash truck is down. We had to have the cylinder in the main mechanical arm replaced, which is under warranty, so we're hoping to get that back up and running the week after. Using the old truck for it.
So this is the new truck?
Are you keep track of how many days it's been down
Roughly,
for the total?
yeah, roughly.
I think we should keep track. I think there might be a possibility that we'll have time to look into, maybe following through on some things. Yes. It just seems like there's all different kinds of things.
Yep.
Question, because we did discuss that, like lemon-law type thing, but because it's not the vehicle itself, it has to do with what the
Yeah.
curb tender with the back end, the box put on, we're not sure, I'm not sure how that works.
Well, I'm not either.
No, I know that, that's what I'm saying, that's what I would like to look into, not so much the vehicle, for the equipment that was added, is there something we could do about that, because you're 4 months into owning it? And
It's been on the road since June, so.
okay, 6, so it's been,
I would say a third of the time it's been done.
right,
Certain performance bond out? Did you buy it for it? Released it, right?
at least it's, hold on.
No performance.
Not that I'm aware of it, that's, we did
Yeah.
not do that. Do we have neighboring communities using the same kind of equipment?
They have a different back end, so like Syracuse Haulers has an entire fleet of the same truck that we have, but the back end, the equipment is different. I believe we're the only ones in the Syracuse area that have a curb tender back end.
So you can't call, you get comparisons. Okay.
Anything else?
Well, one other question about that is this creating a real, staff flow issue? I mean, because you're expecting to not have so many staff members dedicated to trash collection using the truck.
Right now, we're just adding one more guy out of the crew.
It's working out okay.
So it's okay right now. I mean, if we were still running it the way we used to, it would be an issue, but, right now, we're only adding one extra guy to the truck.
So there's two on that instead of three.
Right.
So
The old truck,
the old truck would have been three people on the truck. This current truck, the way we're doing it right now is two.
Is that because it's split into 2 days or the quantity is split?
Yeah, so we were running anywhere from 5 to 6 employees 3 days a week, 2 separate trucks. And now we're running 2 employees on 1 truck for 4 days. So now with this being down, all we're doing is adding the 3rd employee like we used to on the old truck, for all 4 days. So it's not really creating a huge staff issue right now, other than it's cold and the guys haven't been used to being on the back for a few months.
do you have an idea of how long it's gonna take to repair?
It was shipped last week, Friday. But it has to go to Syncon, which is in Rush, New York, and then they have to send out their road tech to us to install it. So
This case scenario.
Oh, we're talking about the days then.
Well,
hopefully,
I thought, okay, all right. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's very-
Most of the time when it's gone down, it's been repaired fairly quickly, but.
yeah,
still
Syncon
going down
has
a
been
lot,
pretty
but
responsive
it's-
with
but
getting
the
out,
repairs
but
have been pretty
Keep good records going forward.
Yeah.
Issues you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Hey, fire department.
The thing I have is 2 part-time employees. One is a EMT, Sarah Livergood. She would be at $21 an hour.
Okay, moved.
Second.
That's right, say her name again.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Okay.
This was a part-time paramedic. Madison. See it? Gaca, GACA. She's a paramedic, part-time, so
At what rate?
$24 more.
Thank you. For the record.
Thank you. All in favor?
Thank you very much for those that you came to my holiday luncheon, appreciate it. And our banquet is gonna be in April next year, so we did not move it, so make sure everybody gets the invitation when that comes around.
Also under the fire department, we have the intermunicipal agreement, shared services with the town regarding safety inspections.
Yeah.
So that got revised, it went to Ted. You're all good with it now? Good. So there was a couple minor changes, but then,
Yeah, paid, how they paid us is one,
okay.
and that's really it.
Right.
They have some insurance questions, which is covered by our liability insurance anyway, so.
So I need a motion to authorize the
So moved.
mayor to enter into this agreement.
So,
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Certificate of legal nonconformity. So, Ted had some thoughts and discussion with me about this, so I'd ask you to just kind of share with us about why we would go forward with something like this based upon proof and different things that he talked to me about as far as it being more of our responsibility than somebody else's.
So Dr. Van Orton has requested a certificate of legal nonconformity. She has 2 sheds, which she says were there prior, installed the early very years before the village adopted regulations specific to sheds. And so that was her testimony, based on what the sheds look like. They appear to be old. I don't think we've been able to establish with any good idea that she's misleading the village in that regard. And the burden of proof would be with the village to discount what he's telling us. There's a third shed on the property, which clearly does not predate the code. And so that remains an issue. It was not be legally non-conforming. But the two older sheds here, based on largely her testimony, to satisfy the criteria to get a certificate.
So we were, have a copy of the certificate of nonconformity, which is signed by the village clerk. And it says that it describes all the things that I'm going to read it, or if everybody's read it. We can enter it into the minutes, obviously, as is. Any questions for Ted or entertain a motion that board would accept this certificate of conformity for the clerk to sign?
I'll second, but I have a question.
Okay,
This shed shall be removed. Is that a directive to the homeowner? This shed shall be removed. You know what I'm saying?
That's
I'm
item
asking,
number 5.
does that mean
well,
this instructs her to take it down?
Correct, that was my intention. And she talked about a willingness to do that at different times. That may vary day to day, but I'm trying to remove to keep the board posted on how the story continues, so shed number 3.
and this also had gone to our village court, so I don't know if this puts it into that proceeding or if the third shed is still part of that.
Yeah, the
proceeding.
third shed is.
So there's like a double type of
Yeah.
safeguard about following the rules. That's there.
We,
Okay, oh, sorry.
my question goes along the lines as trustee Cleary in that I don't have any problem with the thought that the third shed has to be removed, but this is a certificate of non-conformity. So we're simply certifying that the two older sheds are not conforming. So why are we entering into the next issue, which is, okay, we've got two legally non-conforming sheds on your property, and now you want to put a third one up. You can't do that under today's rules. You just can't do it, because you have two here that'll make it 3, and that doesn't fly under our current rules. It's her decision. There's several ways to slice that. She can take down the two old sheds and put up a brand new one.
Oh,
Right?
no, this is strictly for the two sheds that are existing.
I know, but
And they
why are
don't-
we,
Because they're,
why are we even mentioning the third one, I guess?
Because
Yes,
with her application, she could have brought in all 3 sheds and requested it for all 3 sheds. But as the testimony about, it became clear that this most recent shed is in a category different than these 2 other ones.
Okay, so then in 5 states, the third shed, the most recent shed, is illegal in that it violates the requirements of the code. And I would say, and for this reason shall be removed. I mean, I don't know if I'm splitting hairs there. Any additional, any meaning.
Yeah.
You're with third shed, you now become in violation of the code, therefore that shed has to be removed.
Yeah, year to 5, 6, that's how we come.
Right, that's was gonna be my next comment is the 5 and 6, I don't care if you call it a shed or a coop. Any structure,
so how about if you just cut off the last of that sentence, and you say the shed shall be removed, period, and then leave the last sentence that says any other structures located on the premise are subject to the requirements of the village code.
Does it hurt to have it there?
No,
So
not
there's
really.
no,
splitting hairs.
so there's no, I said that way, if there's any, well, I'm gonna call it this, not this, you know,
I don't-
so that way we're covered on all bases.
it's okay to be redundant, doesn't hurt at all, I don't think it hurts.
I'm just, just
Yeah, I don't have, and we don't need to, I'm wordsmithing, and I'm okay with that. We can leave it as is, so we did a Danny, you had some
I
questions.
got a lot of questions, yeah, but
Okay.
everybody.
Okay.
Go over it. What if, are the, two existing sheds, in conformity with our setback rules?
It doesn't matter because
I
they were
don't
there
believe so.
before the code was written.
They were,
Okay,
That's what the certificate of non-conformity
okay,
is.
all right, okay,
I believe. I could be-
yeah,
okay, I just want to make sure.
I have no
Okay.
idea about the latest structure where that.
No,
site
okay.
came from.
If one of these sheds is removed, does that mean another one can go up without anything happening?
No,
no. Generally, she can repair the shed that's there. But she's not entitled under the code to replace it in.
Okay. All right, so there's two sheds that we're saying are, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. One of them comes down. Does that entitle her to another?
No,
No? She would have to go. She understands.
I don't know what she understands.
Okay.
even if I don't know if it matches the footprint. Do you?
he's saying you can't replace it in its entirety. So the two sheds that are there in existence, and as long as those two sheds remain, this is my understanding, Ted can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But as long as those two sheds remain, they are the non-conforming use. Anything new, whether it's the same footprint or something different, is something new and would be subject to going through the normal process of anybody that currently wants to put a shed on whatever the
Here,
rules will
you
be.
actually raised a good point, though. We had this on, in a house that was over here.
On Elm Street, there was a garage that was non-conforming.
As long as they built it on the same footprint, what they didn't meet the current standards, they could, and they had to do it within 1 year.
Right.
You know, they were able to do it.
I think there are still some limitations to rebuild it. It's like, if you want to call it a repair in kind, as long as it's done within a certain time frame in the exact same footprint,
Right.
you can call it a repair in kind, if you will. I think it does allow for a rebuild.
That's
But
why-
but what would void it is if it changes by even a foot, that it's not exact.
So non-conformity doesn't eliminate it going down and a new one going up to replace.
I don't know if it does or it doesn't, but why can't that be in here? We have a couple of redundant things and also state
I'm not-
exactly that we don't want it. I'm not saying.
Right, that not to- That it cannot be rebuilt.
Cannot be, you know, this is, you know. Only
Only for
a
the existing
certificate for the
structure.
existing building and any replacement or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, no, I mean, he raises a good point. That it's something to address, that you don't want to rebuild it in any part.
Can we say, I agree with what's been discussed, and I think it's based on my prior experience on the planning board. It's a slippery slope with non-conforming structures, so. I think if we want to be very clear on this issue, we should so state in this certificate, and we could, if we agree, also state that if any one of the two older sheds is removed, any new or replacement shed must meet today's setback and other building code standards. Like, she gets it, she gets to have
Yeah.
the second shed, but maybe not in the location. I don't know, I'm just saying, it's not my opinion, other than my experience is non-conforming structures, once they're identified as such, that we're on.
Well, I feel like I
a
feel like a shed is a different type of structure than a garage would be. That's, so I feel that if you're going to say not conforming for a shed, then fine, but I don't think it needs to be or should be replaced. Like a garage is something that is more functional to your property, things like that. I mean, otherwise, this goes with the property, but this is in perpetuity. You can do this for the next owner or anybody else that buys that property.
And to be honest with you, I have to think Jane is correct in some ways, because my observation with double fighting boards and et cetera, you have a non-conforming structure. That non-conforming structure typically can be replaced, or is it in a position where a piece of it has to remain so that it can maintain it, is the other question, Ted.
Yes,
Yeah, but you understand what I'm saying.
right.
I mean, that's typically what I've seen, because there's a percentage of it that is not changing. That's why a non-conforming structure can continue on with addition. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
So this is granted by the village board and not as a matter of the exact code, can't the specific details of this certification be outlined by the board? Will
Yep.
not, so
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that
We could set this apart from you.
Yep.
Even if it wasn't garage, because
do you have enough to rewrite this based on our conversation?
I think so.
well, what are we all in favor of? I mean, we've all.
You know, we have to.
Well, I'm in favor, myself personally, I'm in favor of granting a certificate of non-conformity to the two existing structures. I think if anything happens to them or they're taken down, I don't think that they should be allowed to be replaced. I think that they should follow the rules of whatever's in place at the time. If they want to maintain them and keep them for 100 years, that's fine. And I'm not going to stress over whether they maintain them and repair them to the point of turning them down just to the framework and rebuild them. I'm not going to split hairs over this stuff. But if they do come down all the way, I don't think that we should have them go back.
Well, they don't meet the setback requirements either.
I'm just saying,
You're
you can
right.
say,
You're
Jane
absolutely right.
indicated was
They
maybe
come down,
okay
they
to bring
shouldn't
them
be
up
there.
to where it needs to be. But I still don't think that's a good idea. I think if they go down and stay down. That's only my opinion. There's four other people here.
So what I would like to do at this point, I'd like to move the table this into our next meeting. So technically rewrite the document for us, so we can have it.
Yeah.
We want it to be.
I would say that.
And that's fine. But are we in agreement with the fact of not letting them be replaced if they come all the way down, or are we not in agreement with that? Because I don't want to write a thing that we're gonna
Yeah,
just put off to the next
People
meeting.
agreed.
So let's decide is,
She has to go back to court.
well, that's for the third, so we're not worried about that.
Well,
This is strictly about
We
what,
gotta do
Well,
something.
And I personally believe that we're in a position where she takes it down all the way, then she has to be code when she puts it back up. The setbacks are 7, as you've talked about before. Because because she takes it down in its entirety.
I'm just concerned about the number, to continue the number of having two or more on there.
Right.
I agree with your, in my opinion, if either one of the sheds is taken down completely, then the current landowner, property owner, must follow the current zoning rules, regulations for backyard sheds, period. Period.
Right, if they both come down, they can come in and ask for the right shed and make it.
If one goes down and they come in and they say they want to rebuild it, even if it's with the right setbacks, the answer is no, because it's like if it's only one shed per property. The answer is no. This is important though, because right now what we're saying is both of these are legally non-conforming, so you get to have two.
Right.
So if one goes down, that only the remaining standing one becomes the legal non-conforming, and you get to have that one, and somehow you get to interpret all this to mean that we follow our current rules, and we only get that one legal non-conforming shed. I don't know if. we-
Correct, if they want, well, if they want to build a second shed, I think that's really not important.
Yeah.
Variance to build it, they can still do it. They just need to go, there's a system in place already to do it, they just have to follow the system, that's what we're asking.
And I think our board date is.
Yeah, it's a January.
Okay.
Yes, wait, so we have.
So we'll have it divided before that.
We have time,
Yeah.
meetings in
Yeah.
between.
It's already with me.
Any other,
Yeah,
okay,
I just want everyone to realize that this issue came about by a neighborhood village act. What do you call it? And that's where it came. Yeah. And there are other places where there are more than one shed,
Yes.
no setback requirements. All you have to do is walk through the older part of the village and you'll see it.
Everywhere.
So when we do this, we better be careful because the next person that comes along will say,
You're setting precedent. You're correct.
I can take you to places, but it's up to you to go and find it.
Okay.
But in response to that concern, which I respect a lot, I think that we are doing our best to stay with the facts as they are. And making our decision based on the facts as we know them, which is the best kind of precedent we can set. So the facts as they were told to us. And are that these two sheds were built before the code was established, and nobody has come forward to prove otherwise. So I have all the reason, based on the facts in front of me, that's what the facts are.
So we actually have two motions.
Actually, the first motion sits until we decide to do it for the second motion.
So
Right, so the
we want to
first,
withdraw that, right? You said a motion that we would sign it. I second it.
Right, it's not, it wasn't voted on, so just
We can do that.
withdraw it.
we can withdraw it. We can all vote no, but we can withdraw it this time.
You can do either, yes.
So whoever made the motion, you could say I withdraw my motion and then you.
I would draw the motion.
Okay, so now we
Need the second.
Second.
now we have a motion that we want to,
I would draw the,
or we don't need a motion really, we're just.
no, because they don't have a motion table.
We're just gonna ask Ted to revamp this and get it back to us so that we can put it on the next. meeting.
Right. Thank you, Chad.
Okay,
I think it's going to be very difficult for you to come up with something that we, something that we have forgot.
Well, I'll try to give it to you.
No, best you can.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult.
next we have a 2025 municipal cooperative agreement with Greater Tompkins County and Fair Start Municipal Health Insurance. And this resolution reads, whereas the Village of Fayetteville is a participant in the Greater Tompkins County Municipal Health Insurance Consortium, the municipal cooperative organized under Article 47 of the New York Insurance Law, and we are now referred to as the municipality and to them as the consortium. Whereas the municipal participants in the consortium, including this body, have approved and executed a certain municipal cooperation agreement. Now about the agreement effective date of October 1st, 2010, whereas the Article 47 of the New York Insurance Law and the rules and regulations of the New York State Department of Financial Services set forth certain requirements for governance of municipal cooperatives. Offer self-insured municipal cooperatives health insurance plans, whereas the agreement sets forth in section Q2 that continuation of the consortium under the terms and conditions of the agreement or any amendments or restatements thereto shall be subject to board review and upon acceptance of any new participant hereafter. And whereas the municipal cooperative agreement requires that amendments to the agreement be presented to each participant for review and adoption by its municipal board. Whereas the Village of Fayetteville is in receipt of the proposed amended agreement, has determined that it is in the best interest of its constituents who are served by the consortium to amend the agreement as set forth in the amended municipal cooperative agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that upon receipt and review of the amended agreement, the Village of Fayetteville approves the meeting of the governing body held on December 23rd, 2024, and authorizes the chief executive officer to sign the 2025 amendment to the municipal cooperative agreement effective January 1st, 25 of the Greater Tompkins County Municipal Health Insurance Consortium as required by the board.
So move.
Any questions? All in favor? Okay. Table a little bit.
Gonna keep it brief,
Okay.
but up note, I spoke with Brandon Tomasic this morning. He is the inventory arborist currently at work. He started on Friday and he has done 200 trees. He expects that he will be done by the end of January. And so far things are going well. Police were right there right away checking, as we expected. And that's moving along nicely. I'll meet with him after the first of the year, get a picture and do questions. Anybody have any questions? You guys have been contacted. You all were all on the same.
Nice.
Yep. Think is the patch made between True People and Cartograph? Is that made? Okay, so that's something worth following.
So the cartograph would be after.
Okay,
Yep, so
after the whole inventory is completed?
Yep.
Okay, I thought we were gonna be able to see it.
So that would be through their tree keeper program,
Oh.
which I have not gotten access to yet.
Okay,
But then once the inventory's done, then they'll send me the data, I can send that to Cartograph and they'll upload it and we'll be good to go.
good stuff.
Yep.
Okay, great. That's all for today.
Yeah, I've been, going to the, planning board and, zoning board, talking to the codes officer. I think we should take another look at the order of progression and somebody comes into, on a building permit or some type of permit to do something. It seems to me like it's getting jumbled again, where it goes here, goes there, goes here, goes there. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna write out, the way I see it happening and have everybody comment on it. You know, is there another way? The other thing is, which of these, obviously, if it goes to codes officer and it gets approved right away, all you do is put the permit out there. But if it has to go any more steps, what is the permit requirement?
Doesn't the application itself serve as the vehicle, whether it's a site plan or a building permit that is submitted to start the process and the codes officer reviews it and makes comments from there and denies it if for whatever reasons. And then that determines the next step in the progression, for example, such as the variance. I think the codes officer believes it should always start with a building permit, but that's not always the case. Some of these projects, especially for commercial projects, it's understood that they can't do any construction until a site plan is approved. So they may start the process with a conversation, but as far as a document that is the vehicle to begin this, it could be either a building permit or a site plan. Because both have, right, some application to the village to begin the process of getting approval.
So they have to have a denial from the code enforcement officer. So
Right.
we have to go to the code enforcement officer in order to initiate a variance application.
Okay.
Correct? I mean, that is,
I
Right.
need to discuss it this afternoon. I'm gonna write it down the way I see it.
Okay.
I'm gonna make an example of a current, thing that has come before. And I will make an example using that, and then tell me if this should happen, that should happen.
Are you going, when you do that, are you going to be using our exact current procedures?
The way they are now, yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna say,
And so when you do that, if you could reference the section of the code that, the procedures, well, you did, I mean, code's complicated. I used it
I
for
know,
20
I
years
know.
and you have to really understand.
We
the
could
code.
streamline some of this stuff so that.
I know,
it
that's
would
what
be
I mean.
different, or it's
That's what-
different ways so that we could get people through the process faster. But there's some things that just are not going to go through the process faster.
okay, Jane, I'd be for you, I will do that. I'll try to do it.
I mean, I'll be
And
happy to
I'll
work with
refer
you
to-
on. I mean,
I
I can
know.
work with you on that if you
No,
want.
I'll go through it. I'll get together with, people that know how to, which is which.
Okay,
Yes.
I'd be curious. I think I know.
What?
No, I'll be curious to see where you think we went awry. It'd be
Well,
good to
I
know if we
didn't
need a
say- I
refresher.
didn't say we went awry. That's not why I'm bringing it up.
Okay,
I
no,
don't think we did go awry. I'm just saying that there are, the people come in and I see people come in and here we are here we are here. It seems like they go down. Pardon me?
Sometimes it takes 2 3 boards.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's been projects that, when you were chairman, that have taken 3 and 4 years.
I didn't, I was.
I mean, it's like years, we said
I was
board.
Time again.
Right. And some
well,
of that
he'll
is-
get some thought together and then we can talk about it more at a later time.
Okay.
Some of it is
Perfect.
on perhaps the board level, some of it's on the applicant level, so let's not put it all on the boards.
But it's on accessible personnel.
Well, I mean, like, it's the whole thing.
It does have to go through the right way. It's a procedure and it is imperative that we have the right procedure, even if an applicant has to take multiple steps. And I know that our staff have really worked with applicants to try to make it an easier understanding process. And when I was on the planning board, we worked really hard to make sure as best we could to time things so that the applicant didn't lose a whole month before they had to go to ZBA or something. We always worked with them as best we could. So I think everybody is still doing that, but sometimes it just doesn't line up. So I have no idea what you're talking about in terms of project right now, but I would love to look at it. I think our procedures always could use a little tweak, maybe here and there, but
Okay. I just brought it up because I've been sitting there watching it fun. There's been for the FM volleyball team, I have some names, I'll just give you, I'll get your copies. The FM volleyball team, second team statewide, these are for state awards. Milana Noble, and I'll give these. And for first team, 2 people from FM volleyball, I'm very happy to say. Kelly Dannenberg is the first team, and a girl by the name of Laura Sheck is a first team volleyball player. And I think that's important for us to recognize them, maybe in the minutes or something like that. Anytime these things, I know everybody here knows that I'm an avid sports fan. I check all these things out. The last thing is, I turned on the TV, or I had the TV on, and I saw Casey in front of the Onondaga County Board, relating to, I think, the aquarium and the thing, and she has a right to do that as far as I'm concerned. The thing, however, the thing that I didn't like was that it said her name and then it said village, Fayetteville Village Trustee. Casey has a right to go and talk to them. I really didn't like the idea that maybe in the beginning, Casey might have said, I'm speaking on behalf of myself now. Because naturally I thought, well, I'm going to run into people, but I've only run into one that said it. And I'm not saying whether I agree with what Casey said or disagree. I'm just saying that I think we should be careful as a mayor, trustee, chief, DPW, how we throw our name out there. As a resident, I feel of Onondaga County, I feel anybody has a right to say or do whatever they want. If they choose to do it. I didn't like it.
Any comments? Or we're just doing.
Yeah. I hope so.
You can, I mean, if you want to comment or discuss it, I mean, it's a thing that we had talked about, you and I, on a different subject or whatever. I didn't happen to see this, and I don't know how it came about, but they put your name on it that way on TV or whatever, so.
They put my name down as Casey Perry first said. I did not identify myself as an elected official of the village of Fayetteville. I am entitled to my right free speech rights, and I will continue to exercise them when I think it's appropriate. So, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
So you did not, okay, so it was them that arbitrarily did that.
It was the reporters who used the fact on their own choice. So it's not me.
I guess
I did not submit any written comments. I made verbal comments. They used my name. They used half of my name. I'm not gonna talk about it, but that's the way it is.
Did you know that?
Did I know what?
Did you know that they had it written underneath trustee of the village of Fayetteville?
No, I don't have any kind of pre-knowledge of what the television station is going to put on in terms of how it identifies me. And that is a journalistic decision. It is not mine to make.
Okay.
And so people will make predictions. And I do think that I think very carefully about what I say in public.
Well, I
think
that sort of makes me feel a little bit better. I'd say that. I just hope that I just hope that, you know, that is something that they feel they have a right to do, and I really don't think they do. You were speaking as a resident of Onondaga County.
That's good answer.
So,
College is moving along. Um, rocks are being pointed and he's meticulous. That's why we hired him. It's taking his time as well. And we think that the windows will be coming in shortly, and we're gonna wait for the pointing to be done before we install those. I think
Patricia was there last week.
so it's moving along with good speed so that we will for sure be open in
But
for the
it's
spring.
better.
Yeah. It's quiet. Nobody's looking for anything. Senior center is always having structural problems. And I do think that's something that we have to seriously take a hard hold up and get in front of it before it swallows us all. They are getting their problems band-aided as needed in emergency situations, but that's not, I don't think that is sustainable for them or for us.
And I talked about maybe getting together with them after the first of the year before budget time, we kind of review a lot of things that need to be done and come up with a longer term plan to address those needs, prioritize and address the needs.
Were you referring to the physical plant issues?
Yeah, the infrastructural issues. Yeah, not any programming. And I feel that as a liaison with the senior center, I am not one, I mean, I have no problem sharing what's going to happen programmatically, but our responsibility is the property, not the programming.
Right.
So I take that seriously. The property does have a lot of problems. Then the final thing I wanted to bring up is Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council, otherwise known as SMTC. They always run a what do they call it? Long range transportation plan, and they open up for municipalities like ours to apply for some grant monies for planning efforts as it relates to transportation, walking, biking, riding, speeding. And so that it's the season is open right now. I think all applications, if we go on proposals, if they're going to be submitted, need to be received by Friday, January 10th. So, you know, it is around the corner, just around. So if anybody has any ideas of what they think they want to consider, let me know. Otherwise, my focus is going to be on understanding the plan that they just wrote for the 3 villages and the town. And that was the planning that looked at all the walking and biking between communities that can happen between trails and on street accommodations, and to see if we can't take a piece of that and get some further planning and more refined planning, so eventually we can get to the building. But that's as far as I'm taking it.
I would be more than happy working on that.
Okay,
I know we're on the tight time schedule, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Actually, December 13th, I attended a workshop for Central New York Building Electrification and Renewables. Because one of the things that's happening in New York State codes is they are all moving, where everything is moving towards fully electric to help get done. I know people may not like that, or that's where the codes are in New York State. And it's important for us to understand what's happening. I'm also trying to understand and work with various NYSERDA, National Grid, Central New York Regional Planning and Development Boards to understand where we're going, because we have a change at the national administration and how that's going to affect our monies that are going to the state. for us and for as a municipality. So this is a really, from my perspective, it's one of the toughest things so we can work to manage our taxes with our constituents so that we don't have to increase them as much as possible, so we can actually work with those funds as much as possible. So that's one of the things I've always tried to do and working very strongly with that also, because that is in fact where we are headed as a municipality in New York State right now. And it's going to be a bit of flux as far as what they're doing. We have some real needs within our village also. And we will in fact be working towards those along the way. The other thing I wanted to do was talk about the holiday season. I mean, I think it's been wonderful that we had our tree lighting, we have more lighting will be coming up. We're also in a position where we had our Santa Sunday yesterday. And anyone who has as many grandchildren as I have 8 grandchildren. I had 5 of them there. And all the little ones, for gosh sakes, to see them with what's going on with Santa Sunday is really pretty special. Awful cold, yeah. It was really quite spectacular. And I really enjoy that. For me, it's one of the things that I think about when I think about this. It really, really matters. People feel like they're part of the community because of activities like that. So I really, and we do a lot of different ones along the way. So it's very hard for us sometimes to look at that and understand what it really means. But it really means a huge amount to our community. That's what we are thinking.
Anybody else? Okay. Just a couple of things. Mr. Owens here tonight. He brought us some treats, so we'll leave those in the office. Everybody's welcome.
You're supposed to open them.
I'm supposed to open them and get it out. Well. Must make sure you're gonna get them. I'm not gonna take them home.
Oh, I. Yeah.
No, those are for you guys.
So that's
Those are on display for a long time.
Those are starters.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you, sir.
for coming and also bringing
You,
us some.
you
treats.
guys. I know the village, you don't get a big turnout, but I'm sure everybody appreciates what you do. You're very detailed in what you do and we appreciate it. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Bill. The minority mark reference is gonna be lit on, not the first day of Hanukkah, but on Monday, the 30th. I don't remember the time.
6:30,
And that will be
next to the firehouse.
at the firehouse. 10.
It will be on.
It'll be lit on Christmas Day going forward. It's just that the rabbi isn't coming until the 30th.
Let on the 30th.
At 6:30.
But it was this Monday. I thought it was tonight.
No, it doesn't start. The first Hanukkah is Christmas night. So the candles will be lit beginning Christmas night, but the rabbi himself will be here to do the lighting on Monday, the 30th.
Okay. Thank you. And then the last thing I have was I received an email yesterday, I think it was, from our attorneys regarding one of the laws, the second lawsuit that we have against the planning board regarding the site of the grocery store. And that went from the first suit here locally to Rochester to the appeals court, and the decision was made in favor of the village. And so we've got through that hurdle. There is one last step that person could take against the village, and that is to send down to the, I don't know the right name of the court, but the state,
Yeah, the highest court.
the highest court in the state, to appeal what the other two courts have done in denying that lawsuit. So we'll see where we're at. I did speak with the person regarding that development and talked to them about the information that we got in that email. And so they believe that everything is on schedule, still with the developers and the tenant that wants to go in there. So they're gonna, and he thought they might have received some information from that court decision. also, that I just want to let them know where we're at so that they don't lose hope and that we, as a community, make it a good news for the village, I believe, and the fact that we're making progress in that direction. So with that, just. all right.
I just have one question. Did we hear about the grant that we were going to use for something? Okay.
No, I was just gonna ask Ted if he heard anything from the CFA. From the state regarding their CFA applications and grants. Yeah, I've been Googling it and I can't find anything, so I don't think they've released any awards. No information yet. It's unusual. It's usually done by mid of December. So
I don't think the town had heard it. Sarah.
Well, one of the things, when we got the grant, the sidewalk grant, from DEC, that was supposed to be announced in December. It was not, and basically it wasn't announced until July.
Right.
So, I mean, this is what's going on right at the moment. Even though what's happening, so it's very difficult to know, kind of understanding where we are. I really don't know.
They let us know, but
They
they
let
didn't
us
make the public announcement.
Right,
until
it was,
July.
wasn't a public announcement.
Until July.
It was hard.
So hopefully this one won't be as late, right?
here's certainly whatever you know by email at this point, but.
Do we have any kind of an approach to thinking through what we want to go after in grants, so that we have a list, a running list of things that we might want to have and see as opportunities come up where the match might be and how we might follow it? Because I'm seeing some now because there's a new cycle beginning, but I don't necessarily know what we perceive as our top priorities. Because sometimes if we go after the low priorities, they wind up taking the oxygen out of the air or use staff time or whatever. So in terms of what our priorities are, I don't really have the sense that I know what they are. I see something and I'm like, what about this? What about that? So we ever have a discussion like that?
Not sure if we have
No,
had
that
a
we have
specific
anything.
discussion like that.
No.
Or
It's
anything
kind
that
of-
pressing, I guess.
As they come up, like the zoning or the building, depending on who's giving it out or possibly whether it's a grant from one of the assemblymen or, a SAM grant. We haven't had any in a long time. I think the last one that we just were awarded that was the bridge.
Right, this summer.
Bridge. And of course, the one obviously you applied for, but
Well, we don't know that we're.
no, I know that. What I'm saying as far as making applications, so no, as far as, oh, well, let's for a grant for this building for heating. Or, there's one, it's a big one, would be like in the top 5 or 2. So one, the top one.
The other problem with this is you really don't know what the answer is relevant until you start digging. And our needs sometimes change whether we go along, so this priority really sort of, normally it comes about there. And because there's such a large time sequence that goes on between applying and getting the grant, people you start working for your applications. It makes it very difficult to understand what is our priority, where do we go. But I also know that when you start talking among ourselves, we talk to the staff, we talk to the mayor, we actually are in a position, we have a pretty good idea. Because normally you have to have more than few in the hopper, quote unquote. Okay.
I think you're saying essentially, do we have a list of capital improvement projects that we should be looking at? Because that's what we'd be going after for grants or zoning or plan, what I mean? That's really what it would be.
I think our number one source, I would look to for that kind of list is the Parks Master Plan. And the comprehensive.
That's.
It just, that's.
And then our buildings, obviously, most buildings have been updated, but again, this building's gonna have a heating system and stuff done to it, so the fire department will have some things over time that are gonna need to be updated. First goal rate on about 10 years or so. Buy some money, sorry.
I have a little bit left in my budget, so.
No, I mean, little things like that, or not little things, but I mean, big little things like that. It's not that we have to renovate the building. But we have to do an expensive
Grants for your.
repair to.
AFG, there's like 4 different AFG grants. And then, now that Mark's out of office, I can go after some of the SAM grant money, you can see how I'm going. Well,
but it's true.
yeah,
It's true.
Yep.
So I mean, I don't know that we necessarily need to have this really tight coordination, because I think to some degree, if we all have different focus, like I definitely work with the Parks Commission. They have, different ideas or focus what they want. And so my mind is kind of thinking that way, where Danny probably spends more time thinking about the kind of programming that we put on for the village, which is awesome. And so he stays thinking that way. I don't know.
It depends to the agency that's giving the grants out. It's not unusual to have 5, 8 grants rolling around here at the same time. So you get, the tree inventory program that you're working on now, that might be something with, New York State, forestry that will become available, that you're like, okay, we need to do this, because you were talking about budgets from Bob and how much it's costing just to take care of these old trees in the village.
Definitely.
So that is a priority.
Yeah.
Instead of, just trying to figure it out.
I don't think
But
the grants are for so many new things as for helping us with some existing things and or the new things that will help the existing things. So, like the trees, as an example, getting a grant to do the maintenance of the younger trees that will be older trees that will be less down the road if we take care of them early on, perhaps, or whatever those things.
And a lot of times you can get grants that coordinate with others for the same project. That's really.
Yeah.
Because it just helps, offset our costs. Let's talk about it before, but, senior center is. Some of them don't work as well, and seems to work better. Seems to work, yeah, really well.
And that might help with some of the things that it needs, there too.
There's some that don't allow you to work with them. And I mean, it's sincerely, so you look at some grants and then.
They cancel each other out.
Yeah, they cancel each other out. You can't work with those 2 grants on 50 project or whatever. So you try to figure out which is your best deal, but you also, your best deal isn't necessarily just going for 1, it's actually going for 2, because you're not guaranteed at 1. You always got to play the game.
I don't know that answer though, as
There's a
far as,
lot of answers I got.
Sure.
In terms of what the process is.
but there is no master list per se. I think that was really your first question. Is there a master list?
And kind of like a process. So that was plenty of information. So thank you everyone for entertaining the question.
I think the thing is, when you see the grants come down, I get probably 8 a month or something like that from the state or different places. Okay, so what fits that grant?
I mean, we should be sharing with each other, like if Danny gets an email on a grant that really speaks more to parks. Then maybe he should be sharing that, with me, and likewise, if I get one that really I think fits better with our tree inventory process, I would absolutely send it your way. I don't get that many emails on specific grants. Not recently, it's been the holidays.
Right.
But when it's not the holidays, I do try to go in and go to certain sites that I'm familiar with, just see what's going on. So I have to look.
But I think in trustee Cleary's point though, is as far as the resources and the money that the village does have to put in. So it's all just a whole big look of like, what is this worth?
Whether
we
it's
wanna
matching
do,
or not.
Whether it's, because it could be a 50-50 match.
Right.
Do we want to spend,
Some of this discussion is actually gonna happen in our budget. We
Right.
did that
Right.
with the tree inventory.
Exactly.
We did it in advance. We knew we needed it, right?
We made an investment
Right.
to improve
Right.
our competitiveness. So yeah, that's definitely one. I'm very interested in writing grants and getting grants and supplementing what, residents are coming up with. And we have a rich history in what the village has been able to do. 25 years of creating care work. So I'm just feeling my way through it and trying to feed in the same as much as possible. That's, but I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, okay. So I hope everybody has a nice holiday. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's. And we will see you soon. Motion to